pretty much the same. And who are those who can actually lend those to the actors? You have the commercial banks, you have the credit unions, the co-ops, you have the agriculture development banks, the MFIs, the leasing companies, insurers, venture capitalists, and investment funds. But you also have non-financial intermediaries who act in the value chain. These are the input suppliers, the equipment suppliers, the marketing companies, the traders and wholesalers, exporters, are not going to read everything. But at the end of the day, you have family and friends, and very last, government subsidies. Price on credit purchase and high direct embedded interest rate. And the other limitation is the restricted selection and the quality, restricted selection of those inputs, and the quality which may not be reliable. So now I'm going to talk about how to meet the needs of the working capital needs of the agricultural SMEs. You would agree that after the stage of basically infancy, the concept stage, everybody strives to reach the level of being an SME and perhaps a multinational. Sure. So SMEs play a vital role in agricultural development. They aggregate otherwise dispersed smallholder farmers. They facilitate access to agronomic training, farm input, credit, and market. They create formal employment in storage and processing. Removing barrier to finance. They remove barrier to finance by replacing traditional collateral with new type of security. So they can lease equipment. As I said earlier in the Indian example, they can put a movable asset like a cow as a guarantee. And they can harvest non-perishable commodities in warehouse and get warehouse receipt. I'm not sure whether everybody knows the concept of warehouse receipt. Yes? It's basically as soon as you harvest a non-perishable crop, you can store it in a warehouse where there is some sort of certification infrastructure. And with that warehouse receipt of your crop, you can go to a bank and get a loan. So it's a movable asset guarantee. So risk mitigation, so it's what the gentleman just shared with us. You can transfer key risk to market. You can purchase insurance, and then the risk, for example, the climate risk, gets transferred to another party. And instruments such as, no, so this one doesn't really apply to us in Africa because we don't have the futures markets yet. So lowering the cost of lowering the transaction cost, and also to access capacity building and technical assistance from lenders like the World Bank and all these development partners. So what are the challenges in servicing the last mile? So from the various surveys that we have conducted, the high transaction cost to reach very remote rural population, representing heterogeneous client with small and seasonal financial transactions. So basically, lending institutions are not really interested. The low level of demand from those smallholder farmers due to the fragmentation of the value chain, the covariance of the production, the market, and the price risk. Because even if you produce excellent, I don't know, coffee or maize, sometimes you can't even recover your cost. And also on the supply side, the lack of expertise of financial institutions in managing agriculture loan portfolio. And I was giving the example of Africa, where basically less than 10% of the loan portfolio goes to the agriculture sector. So in Nigeria, I took the example of Nisral, and I was asking a lady who was seated next to me if she knew what Nisral. Does anybody knows what Nisral is? Nisral. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it in French. Anybody knows what it is? Mike, please. Anybody can? Merci d'être venu.
NIRSA is hello. NIRSAA, Nigeria Insurance.
No, go ahead. Thank you.
To the risk in loan structure purposes.
Okay, so Nigerian incentive-based risk-sharing system. So basically, it's a facility from the Nigerian government, which was initiated about 6 years ago. They have recently floated an MFI, so an MFI, a bank focusing on the agriculture sector, which provides about 40 million USD per year to finance the agriculture sector, and also provide a credit risk guarantee to encourage commercial banks to lend to the sector. So for the Nigerian entrepreneurs, you need to know about this type of facility. They do exist in your country. It is managed by the central bank. Unfortunately, not that many people, as we just witnessed it, not that many people are aware of it, but there are mechanisms in place in your country which you should get closer to. So I wanted to tackle some of the innovations in the financial inclusion. So you have the ICT sector, and afterwards I'm going to give three African examples: Kenya, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. Anybody from those countries in the audience? One. From where? Excellent. So you're gonna join me on here, so that you can discuss your country's innovation. So in the ICT, which is something that has been very much promoted by a lot of developmental institutions, and I want to recognize here the presence of Mr. Vivanyu Yansunu, who works for the ACP, is the ACP Secretariat, and he has been supporting a lot of work in all these sectors: information, communication and technology, gender, so focusing on women, the needs of women, and the youth. Vivanu, can I give you just a minute to say something of you? Okay, great. So basically, in the ICT sector, what has happened? It digitized the payment through the value chain to reduce the cost and increase price transparency, because this has been a big issue for the market access. It connects smallholder farmers to knowledge institutions, financial and input companies, and market buyers through digital channels and agriculture e-extension services. It provides better knowledge and data management that enhances learning, traceability, market intelligence, and connectivity. So, if I may, anybody at the stage where they primarily look at ICT to solve some of their financial access issues or management issues? Anyone? Do you want to share?
Thank you, Madam. I'm called Matanga Paul. I'm from Cameroon. So I'm into maggot farming as a feed input. As an input for the production of animal feed. As an input for the production of animal feed, and presently I'm in search for a method, as in management, not in financial inclusion. In search of a method of using IT to gather my waste product, because I use bio waste, and I intend on getting I can say a product that can be used in any smartphone, so that households can sell their bio waste to us. So I have this problem of ICT in the management sector.
Are you looking for basically designing the program, or what is the exact? What is your exact ask?
I prefer to outsource that.
Outsource that.
So I can concentrate on production.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I think we can have a side discussion afterwards about that. So the second innovation in financial inclusion is on gender. So the issue is that female smallholder farmers are key contributors to all parts of the agricultural value chain, yet their contribution are often invisible, and gender gaps exist in income, access to finance, and digital assets. Delivery channels and products. So train female agents for outreach, facilitation activities, and invest in gender-responsive bundled and customized services offerings, such as savings in e-wallet and family covers. Capacity building on unconscious bias and prevention of gender-based violence. But that one is not that prominent. So because for once there are a lot of ladies in the audience. Any lady who wants to share something about her experience in the as a woman, as far as financial inclusion is concerned. There's a lady.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mrs. Tochi Joseph. I've worked as a resident agri officer. Before I had my last set of doing so, I resigned. So I ventured into primary farming because I'm an agronomist from Zaire. So when I asked a microphone an assistance, it happens that when I put on my proposal, it was on a concept stage then. I put on my proposals and feasibility studies of what I want to do. I'm into corn farming and also production of the corn as a meal. So at the end, they denied me the access. Then later, my husband had to go for me. You know, when he came, they asked him some questions and they asked him, what are your collaterals? And he had to put on a house building. That was actually what, you know, gave me a little bit of finance to sustain my farming for then. And one of the challenges I have had, I said I would put it on a platform for women in agriculture. How can we actually boost their morale and how can we help them? Because when I worked as a resident officer, I discovered that more of these things are lying down to the women based on what I have discussed. So I took up the challenge to go into primary farming. Thanks.
Thank you very, very much for for sharing. So we have a man now who wants to talk about gender.
Good afternoon, everybody. There is something I am doing presently. We fortified Gary with legumes, and our point of interest is on the women. In rural areas, we discover that women play a key role in cassava processing. And so we decided that for us to actually run our course of ensuring sustainable and substantial food security, we have to use the women. And so what we do is that we teach women how they can fortify their garis using legumes, example, the soya beans. And also how they can virtually convert every waste product from these processes, convert them into useful byproducts. And so if we are able to run this course, I think that if others can key into this race, we will be able to have more of the women in business. Thank you.
And may I ask you, what's your incentive? Your personal incentive in?
Okay. Incentives in the aspect of maybe creating jobs or in the aspect of financing. All right. What we do is this. Please, let me learn, please. Let me learn. In the aspect of financing, we are actually having difficulties anyway. There are challenges in setting up the kind of structure that we want. And so that is why I am here anyway, to be able to access such finance.
Thank you very much for sharing. So he's very courageous to say that. So there's another gentleman right here who wants to, he's right here, wants to share.
My experience of engaging women, a farm that is a 5-hectare land, and we are still at the primary stage where we are basically producing cassava and corn. I had a very strange experience. The men are usually the better negotiators with price, and I knew that when I set out to or labor for my work. And I started with the men, and knowing that they are hard bargainers, I also was very hard in bargaining. And but when it turned out at the face of the work, we needed women, and we engaged their services. They became the better bargainers than the men in terms of insisting on higher remunerations for their labor and arguing successfully why they must be paid higher. It was a very, very strange one for me, but we engaged them. And they were more proactive in understanding the size of the work, the expected value coming out from the work, and in demanding what they felt was commensurate. But we engaged them. It's a farm project that ideally is meant to empower a very rural environment, and with possibilities of great expansion, turning cassava into starch, gari, and then for animal feed and all of that. So I understood that in as much as we feel that women are excluded, but when giving opportunity, they are good bargainers for the values they bring to bear in the work they are doing. Thank you.
Amen. Okay, I'm going to continue on youth. So about 1 billion youth in low-income countries are navigating the transition into the workforce. And in Africa alone, about 11 million young people are expected to enter the labor market each year for the next decade. So what do we need to do? Is to ignite passion and upskill for farming through new knowledge acquisition, including permaculture, fishery, skills training, entrepreneurship. This is why we are here today, actually. Financial incentives such as microcredit schemes for young farmers. And that's what we do at the World Bank, and that's also what the ACP Secretariat does. So now what I want to do is to give like 3 examples of how harnessing the digital advantage has helped solve some of the development challenges in Africa. So I'm going to give the example of Kenya, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. So has anybody heard about M-Pesa, the digital payment M-Pesa? Okay, so a lot of you have heard about it. That's great. So M-Pesa has great success. M-Pesa is basically mobile banking, and it has been widely used in Kenya to reach basically to promote financial inclusion even in the most remote areas in Kenya, and that model has been copied a lot in Africa, in Senegal, probably here also in Nigeria, and in many countries of Sub-Saharan Africa. So M-Pesa's great success has extended mobile banking services to many previously unbanked customers in Kenya. Kenya has 31 million active users of mobile money transfer services as of 2018. One case I wanted to mention is the M-Agri Solutions by Connected Farmers Alliance, CFA. It's a digital payment via M-Pesa, which also provide improved communication between small farmer holders and agribusinesses. The second case is actually one of my projects. It's agriculture insurance, which was promoted by Acre Africa. It provides digital access to insurance and claims payment via M-Pesa. So in less than 5 days, when there is a failure into the crop, so basically when the yield is not there, thanks to that system, you can basically access another bag of seeds, and if that bag of seeds is not enough, you can get a top-up of a loan from some of the MFIs that are in the system, in the value chain. So I'm not going to insist a lot on that. So there is this little diagram. So you see the small farmer holder in the center, the agri-dealer, and Acre Africa, which manages the system, and against a payment of about, let's say the bag of seed is about $10, there is an additional $1 that is being paid for insurance. So as soon as there is not enough rain for the crop to provide a yield, the bag of seed is being replaced. And how does the farmer pay? He pays through mobile banking with that M-Pesa system. So it requires a little bit of setup, infrastructure to put in place, both on the ICT side, but also with the agri-dealers to basically have the input available. So this is for the crops, but it can also apply to fertilizers and other inputs needed by the farmer. The second example is Econet in Zimbabwe. So the product innovation is to overcome the big challenges for a smallholder farmer face, which are limited access to banking services, information, so it's basically agri-climatic information, markets, so how to sell, how and where to sell, sorry, and insurance. So Eco-Farmers' package of product, including affordable crop insurance, farming tips, market prices, has been available to close to 260,000 smallholder farmers. So what are the additional services provided? So there is one service called Save for Schools. It's a mobile-enabled, goal-based savings account designed to help smallholder farmers' families plan ahead for their children's school fees payment. There is another one called My Yearly Package. It's a smartphone tablet app designed for the use by agri-dealers to enter their customers' data on the farm, on their farms, and receive a tailored package of input bundled with financing, including insurance, remote credit approval, and customized agriculture information. Obviously, all of these solutions are designed after feasibility studies. Am I talking too much, or? Okay, so I'm being requested to talk a little bit faster. In any case, all of the presentations will be available on the TEF Forum website. So, and I'm going to be here today and tomorrow. So for those who want to talk to me. So the third one is in Uganda, the digitalization of the Uganda coffee value chain. So there, the project description is, so one of the development partners, UNCDF, works with one of the largest coffee exporters, so an off-taker, to digitize Uganda's coffee value chain to build tighter connections between farmers and exporters, promoting accountability, transparency, and loyalty. Downstream payments from KLC to certified farmers, traders, and staff are digitalized, and payees can enroll on a voluntary basis. So that's the second example. The friend from Uganda, does she want to add anything about her experience or share anything with colleagues here? No? She disappeared. She wants to? Yeah. Yes. Thank you very, very much for sharing that additional example. So I'm not going to go through the summary because I was requested to basically try to end that session as soon as possible. But what I would like to do is to give a chance to my big brother, Mr. Elumelu, who came to support me, to say a few words about his work on, about his institution's work on supporting the agricultural sector, but also, oh, there is another, it works. But also his own experience, because I've known him actually in Lomé as a private sector entrepreneur who actually was focusing on the agriculture. Very much, Vivanu, for supporting me in this panel.
Coming on front, so you don't have to turn back to see me. Sorry for disturbing the session, but we just wanted to come and hear more from what you were expressing in terms of needs and expectation from the field. I work for an institution which is called the African, Caribbean, and Pacific Group of States. We represent 79 countries, and we're based in Brussels, and our job is to represent the interests of those states and mobilize resources. I was presenting in the plenary this morning that we have mobilized for the last 7 years 33 billion euros from the European Union to support many areas, including agriculture. My interest, personal but also institutional interest, is really to see how we can help you going the step further, really meeting the needs and de-risking what we call the agriculture. We have noted that those who talk about the risk in agriculture really don't really know what kind of activity is it, how we can come across and try to mitigate or go around and find a way to do it. So I'm not going to be long. We have developed many instruments, not only financial but also technological, trying to make sure that we don't experience all those loss we have post-harvest, trying to bringing the processing close to the farming place rather than trying to move the harvest to a town when you'll be losing 60% of your perishable goods in the. So solutions are there. We need to fund them. The beauty of it is that being from the side, I have in the public institutions, I moved to the private sector and discover things when it has been done in the field, and I have the privilege to come back to this side and see how we can now orient our instruments to meet the demand. And I can tell you it makes a totally big difference, because generally we make policies, we develop instruments, and we don't know, and I'm sorry to say for my sister from the World Bank, but generally we see it and we do things, I mean, not ill-intended, trying to do it for the good, but generally we don't do it according to the expectation. So the idea is just to be here, hear from you. You heard I announced in the plenary that we're going to be supporting from next year 2,000 entrepreneurs, and we're not going to be interfering with the process, but of course in our dialogue with TEF, we are able that you would like to focus on agriculture or women or science, whatever. So my interest is to listen to you. I came here, that only master class to which I come because I have personal interest in agriculture, and listen for the few I have heard, and I'm sure I will take it back home, and we try to make sure that in those 2,000 additional coming, you have a good portion coming from the agri sector. So thank you again for being here, and we're looking forward to continue our support and our conversation.
Thank you very much, Vivanu, for the support and for the shedding some light on what the ACP will be doing for the African agriculture sector entrepreneurs. So the session is coming to an end. I guess because of the schedule, everybody's running behind schedule. But I'll be here again today and tomorrow. If I give you the opportunity to speak, then I'm going to be in trouble. So can we do it on one-on-one? No? Is it something you want to share to everybody? No, if it's for the Q&A, actually we have to vacate the room. I think that's the issue. So if it's for the Q&A, and if it's directed just to me, let us vacate the room. I will stay outside, and we can continue the conversation. Okay? Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble. I won't be invited again. That's my fear. So thank you very much, everybody.